tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Princeton's always been a tough football team. One thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. Hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in Princeton.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
Football is one of the greatest sports in the world.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cal One-on-One right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Omer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Costco, and with me today as we continue our high school football season previews is Vineland head coach Jose Guzman. Coach, good to talk to you. I know it's an exciting time for the Fighting Clan. You're going into, I believe now, year 3 already at the helm, which is quite bonkers. So I have to ask you first, off-season, tell me about that and just, I guess, seeing this program build before your eyes over the last couple of years.
The off season, I'll tell you what, our kids are great. We've been, in that workout facility since December 3rd, religiously. Our kids have been putting in the time, the effort. So I'm looking forward to a really good season for these guys. They're good kids, really good kids.
5-5 for you guys last season, so the improvements are obviously evident. We'll get into some of the guys that are coming back. I'm curious about this because you guys had a lot of seniors contribute to that 2024 squad. What's it like for you looking at, again, you've already implemented what you want to do as a head coach through 2 years. Year 3 is usually that year where it's like, okay, we're going to make a bit of a jump, but you guys have a lot of younger guys this year expected to either step up or continue contributing. What's that been like for you this go around?
Well, this go around, it seems like, again, we're, as you mentioned, we're, a little young in certain parts of our offense and defensive components and special teams. But I'll tell you what, man, these kids are putting, like I said, they're putting in the time and effort to be great. They're not this group is not satisfied with good. And it shows, in our weight room capacity, as far as, our personal trainer going ahead and giving me feedback on how everybody's doing individually. I mean, the numbers show. The numbers show that these kids are putting in the work and the effort this year to just not just be subpar or good. They want to be great. So I'm excited.
Was there anything that really stood out to you in the wintertime? You mentioned the weight room, the kids are putting in the work. Was there a moment during the offseason where you're like, okay, it seems like these kids maybe, and I'm not saying they weren't doing it before, but maybe buying in more than usual? Or was there some, maybe a switch that flipped over the course of the last 6 months?
I think what happened was that these kids took from, the previous season, a lot of different, little tools that they learned throughout playing and or being part of that squad. And they're not just, settling. They don't want to settle. And they want to go ahead and take everything they've learned from previous season and build on that. And they want to be great this year. It's just a different vibe. And I'm not saying that in any type of negative way. It's a good thing. They're realizing that they could do more. They could do more and they could achieve more. So again, man, it's just an excitement-filled, room when we're all together. So it's nice.
When you took over a couple of years ago for Dan Russo, who was there for, I believe, over a decade, he's synonymous with Vineland football. But you were given this opportunity to now mold the program, taking what you learned from him and then molding it with your own vision. I'm curious I remember reading a story from a couple of years ago when you were appointed head coach that you wanted to always just give back to the kids, and I can hear it with the way you're answering these early questions. Like, I'm just excited for the kids. How does that make you feel year to year, knowing that, especially some of the kids that you've already coached now, I guess now as the head coach for 3-4 years now at this point?
Right. I'll tell you what, Nick, it's like this, man. If you're around my guys, you'll see I'm a genuine dude. What you see is what you get. I love my kids, period. I want to see them flourish in all capacities, not just the sports realm, also, their education first and foremost, to be productive young men in society. And it's just neat because I've been with the Vineland High School football program now for 14 years now, total. So throughout them 14 years, I've built these beautiful bonds with these now young men, right? That still call me, man, on the regular, still call me, still, we break bread over the phone. It's just not. It's really it's a special position to be in, knowing that you're giving back to the youth and knowing that you have a little piece in there that you plugged in. A little piece of them is everything that you culturally manifested in this microcosm of a social space, right?
Mm.
The football team and the football program. Um, so it's really special to me, man. And it's not just the guys that are going to the league and D1. It's the guys that are now electricians.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah.
Police officers. You understand what I mean? Own
Mm.
their own landscaping business. Like, it's not about all that, hoopla. It's about, wow, these kids, how productive are they now? They're so productive in the community. They're giving back. They're coaching and, in the community. It's a special position to be in. So very intrinsic in value.
When you look at the last 14 years as an assistant, as a head coach, you've seen peaks and valleys on the field when it comes to success, making playoff runs and obviously some down years, whether it's numbers are down, numbers are up. You've seen it, I'm sure, off the field as well, those peaks and valleys. What really sticks with you year to year, essentially, because you've been doing it for so long at this point, what I guess it is the kids, but what makes you say, I need to keep coming back this year? I want to come back this year.
It's that spirit within the bond, that relationship. It's special, man. Like I said, it's I can't talk about any other program, but as far as our program and what uh, myself being under Coach Dan Russo, what we both believed in so wholeheartedly was family, man. And to this day, that's the word that stays in our locker room. We're very family oriented. We treat the kids with respect, with love, just as if they're our sons. Period. And the kids will tell you, they'll be the first ones to tell you, my staff, anybody disrespects my kids, you're out of there. You're not part of the program no more. You understand? Kids first. We're in the business of kids. Therefore, you act accordingly. You're a man. Understand that there's a difference there, and understand that we're there for the best interests of our kids. Point blank, period. Everything else is icing on the cake. Us winning, icing on the cake, but us molding young men into gentlemen that'll be productive in whatever pursuits they feel they want to do in the future. That's ultimately the goal, man, and help them get there. All of them, not just the D1 guys, not just the ones with all the talent.
Yeah.
But the guy that wants to be that plumber, wants to be owning his own business, being an entrepreneur, that type of help.
When you deal with a large team, because again, Vineland's a Group 5 school, for those who don't know, of course, it's one of the bigger schools in Southwest Jersey, however you want to classify it. So you have to deal with a lot of kids, usually on a year-to-year basis. I was talking to Coach Rob Davis over at EHT. They have pretty much, they're almost in the triple digits at this point. You look at these huge programs like that. How do you balance that as the head coach and with your staff? It's like, we need to manage all these kids. And you want to have those close relationships with those kids, when you go from player 1 all the way down to player 80.
It's a very dynamic approach, because there's not an approach that you can stick on, that it's a band-aid for everybody, right? Everyone's different. So I just have a special group of coaches, and I've kept that foundation with me, or at least part of it. And Clifton Smith, who's been with us through the Dan Russo years, as well as myself. And he's one of those guys who's a pillar too, man. I mean, the kids gravitate to him, love him. And then we have the likes of coaches that I only brought coaches back from our football family. The Ryan Sheltons of the world, the Justin Diaz's of the world, right? Tim Jones, Donovan, Bennett. I mean, all these guys are former players of mine. Davon Seymour, like, they're all there. They're all back. They want to give back, man. So it's because I have that. How could I put it? That Vineland sauce already in the pot, right? It just makes for all the additions of these new ingredients to just mesh really well, man. And we have that special bond. Like I said, each one has its own, part of the pot, right? Each one makes its own flavor, but at the end, we come out with this great taste, man, and the sauce that we make. So I'm loving everything that's going on with our program and our coaches and our kids, man. It's a good thing.
As far as the sauce that's being made, we already talked about developing younger players and trying to see them accelerate at a new rate. As far as, talk about the on the field stuff now going into 2025, what were some of the biggest strides that you saw offensively and defensively? And of course, even special teams, was there stuff where you're just like, you know what, maybe we couldn't do that offensively last year. Now we can this year. I mean, I guess the same goes for the other position groups as well.
Right. I'll tell you what, it's very, how could I put it? It's very neat that that we as a coaching staff saw that the kids were making these strides, okay, in their individual spots, whether it be special teams, whether it be offensive key positions or the line or any part of the offensive unit, defensive unit. These kids started to really grasp onto the schemes that we were trying to come and display to them and actually make them inherently aware of, okay, these are your responsibilities. This is what you got to take care of. Don't worry about the next guy. Worry about doing your job right. And then if everyone worries about their job and doing it right, everything will just mesh and take care of itself. So I think with the kids understanding better, with us breaking down film to simpler parts, and then breaking up in individual units and going over it again, and then going on to the field and actually applying everything. The total breakdown that we made happen for these kids so that they can absorb the information, I believe, was put to a point where it's so finite and so direct that you're going to see even a bigger transition this year, in my opinion.
I like hearing that. So we'll dive into some specifics on the field in just a sec. Take a quick break. This is Cal One-on-One right here on KB Atlantic Live.
This broadcast is brought to you by Harbor Jiu-Jitsu. Located in Egg Harbor Township, Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is more than just training. Both adults and kids can gain practical skills that give you real confidence, build physical and mental resilience, and you can join a team that's here to help you grow. Featuring no gi, wrestling, and MMA classes. Harbor Jiu-Jitsu is the most dynamic gym in South Jersey. For more information, check out harborjiujitsu.com.
So looking ahead to the on-the-field stuff, Coach, we mentioned some players before we came on. Elijah Calderon's back at quarterback. He's a sophomore. We mentioned some young guys, but even some upperclassmen like Omar Davis, Caden Chestnut, Aiden Berentio, guys like that, and Aiden Zingraf, before I forget him, of course, in terms of younger guys. How do these guys mesh so far when it comes to getting the offense together, and especially your guys that play both ways? How are they managing, those offensive and defensive roles?
Again, our kids took it upon themselves to go ahead and gear up for that in the way of the weight room and the cardio program that our strength and conditioning coach, also Coach Ryan Shelton, has been working in conjunction with Coach Clifton Smith and getting that weight room going in the positive direction. Ryan's done an excellent job for us in that regard. And the kids are just understanding that their bodies need to be kind of put together a little bit differently to withstand both sides of the football. It's a whole different ball game. When you're playing one side of the ball, you can kind of get away with, okay, I'm going to do this, the bare bones, and I'll get away with playing one side of the ball. I'll be fine with my talent and what have you. But when they see, wait, we want you to also play both sides of the ball and special teams. This is, the great teams they're going to put their best players out there to make great plays. Great teams will go ahead and put their playmakers out there to make plays happen. And that's what these kids are starting to realize, that they need to go ahead and really form their bodies to what pressures and demands that this game is going to have for them throughout the season. You have guys the likes of another young guy that we had over at running back, George Figueroa. Another young guy to mention, Barias Hill, another linebacker, another young guy. I mean, we have a lot of young guys that got some real critical play last year that I believe as sophomores are going to really open up some eyes, man, because they're good players. Good players.
When you I guess, look at the young guys that are asked to step up. What are those conversations like? Especially, I'll use Elijah as an example because he plays quarterback and, of course, arguably the most important position. But he made some plays last year, can make plays with his feet as well. So he's more of that dual threat type of quarterback. But now that he's a sophomore, he's got a year under his belt. What are conversations like with him and other guys, maybe similarly in his position, where it's like, hey, you played well for us last year, but there's more expectations now on the field.
You know what the neat part about that young man is?
Mm.
He's a young man with an old soul. He's in that he's in that playbook religiously.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his quarterbacks coach's ear religiously, the OCs religiously, Ryan Shelton and Coach Ray Fitton. I mean, this kid is just a student of the game. I kind of joke with Ryan Shelton at times, and I'm like, yes, it kind of reminds me of somebody who used to be in the coach's office a lot. Kind of reminds me of somebody. So he loves him too. Ryan has a special relationship with that kid. Coach Fitton has a special relationship with that kid. Just a wonderful leader. But he's gone the direction of not just getting his body put together the right way, but also that knowledge of the game, the intrinsics, the little things, the giveaways on defense, maybe that he didn't see his first year, first ride out. So he's paying a lot more attention to detail and really taking in all the notes that, his position coaches go ahead and feed him.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to switch to the schedule a little bit. I believe you guys open up against Delsea at home on August 28th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. So that'll be the season opener in, I can't believe it's already a month and a half already, which is kind of insane.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It just flies by. We're waiting 9 months. All of a sudden, okay, the season's kicked off in 3 weeks. I am curious though, because with the way the schedule has managed, you and Millville are one of the lone rivalries still around, pretty much statewide, that still plays on Thanksgiving. And every other coach that I've talked to at this point, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot your Thanksgiving rivalries now. Week 1 or week 0, as they like to call it, or sometimes it just goes away.
Right.
What does that rivalry mean to you guys over at Vineland and be able to keep that tradition on Thanksgiving? I know it's different now because obviously Millville's played for a state title within the last couple of years. I'm sure if you guys were in that same position, you're like, yeah, okay, still a big game, but we have a state championship as well, the next week. What's that game mean to you, and as far as being able to still keep it on the holiday?
I'll tell you what, Nick, there's nothing like it. It is special beyond measure, beyond anything I can explain to you. It is a very passionate game, by both cities. It is just a long-standing rivalry that, in my opinion, that rivalry will be there. That rivalry game will be on the 20th, on Thanksgiving Day. From here till, we perish and forevermore. It's sad, in my opinion, that, I for instance, I'm going to give you my spiel. I played for Hamilton High School, and our rival, of course, St. Joe. And when that game got done away with, there was a lot of alum that just were, our hearts were broke.
Right.
That's another special rivalry in New Jersey, very long standing. So I am very, very happy to say that I can still be a part of something like that, being so that it's a Vineland Millville rivalry football game on Thanksgiving. It's just special, man. And if you've never experienced it, either being a player, in any point in your life, or being some type of coach in that type of setting, you'll never understand. It's just it's something that's just inherent in both cities, and when both worlds collide, it's special, dude. And you want to win that game. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Don't ever think for 1 minute that either Vineland or Millville don't want to win that football game. Whether we're in a state title, playoff game, it don't matter. All things go by the wayside. That game needs to be won by one of those cities. So all that other jazz, you can throw that to the wayside. We'll get to that game. It's actually the other way around. We'll get to the state and playoff game, but we got to handle business over here in Vineland to get through.
Boy, I would love that. In a perfect world, Vineland and Milver are playing for their respective Group 4 and Group 5 state titles the next
That would
week.
be
It's like,
awesome.
but it's like, hang on, we gotta, this is the real state title game right here.
Yeah,
This is
it's the.
unbelievable.
They'll tell you too. It's the one. I mean,
Yeah.
the hardware is the hardware.
Mhm.
God bless the hardware. But when it comes to city rivalry, that's the game. Everyone knows it. That's the one.
I love hearing that. The 154th edition is coming up here in 2025, which is, that has to be, I believe it's the longest running rivalry in state history, if not one of, and nationwide as well. Which, if it dates back to the 1800s, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah. It's absolutely in the state. Absolutely. I think nationwide we rank within the top 5, if I'm not mistaken, which is still, I mean, it's an old game. It's an old game.
That's special. I love hearing that. So you guys open up against Delsey at home on August 28th. And, of course, that Thanksgiving game is still on the docket among other games this year, this fall. So, Coach, I'll leave you here with this one. Again, I appreciate your time today.
No problem.
I look at everybody's phrase or motto. I'm very curious, where they come from for, what teams buy into. They could be simple. They could be something that really stood out to them, years ago. Teams change it year to year. What's the phrase or motto this year that Vineland is buying into here in 2025?
I've said this since I was with my man, Coach Dan Russo, and I'm gonna keep saying it. And he knows that this is my favorite saying: "Get in where you fit in." That's it. You help the team however we need help. Be as unselfish is defined, and that builds not only character, right, but it builds the team's whole morale. At the end, because you're being a selfless person that's giving up himself to his fellow brother on the field and doing whatever it takes to get the job done.
I love hearing that. Get that printed on a T-shirt fast and, slap it on the locker room. I like that. Jose Guzman with me here on Cal One-on-One of Vineland Football. Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck this season. Looking forward to watching the Fighting Clan here in 2025, and we'll definitely talk again soon.
Thank you, Nick, for everything. I appreciate you having me on your platform. And let's go Vineland, man. Let's go get it.
Appreciate that as well. Cal One-on-One right here is presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service on Cape Atlantic Live. Be sure to check out the rest of our podcasts on the YouTube channel. Of course, our live game coverage coming this fall